Hey, Intro to Psych students. My name is Ruth Castillo. I am part of the IVC Introductory Psychology Project, and I will be your peer teacher for today's final lesson. One goal of psychology is to collect research on the effectiveness of different therapies, but evaluating treatments is more challenging than it seems. I'm going to discuss some controversial findings today about the treatment of depression. This final lesson allows you to bring together and apply key concepts from research design and mental health treatment, including experimental design, placebos, and antidepressant therapy. Please open and read the depression treatment handout and be ready to answer some questions in the next interactive exercise. The Hamilton Rating Scale was used to measure depression levels at two different time points: before the start of the intervention and after 6 weeks. The scores on this scale range from low to high, with higher scores indicating greater levels of depression. Let's take a look at question 1 on the depression treatment handout. In figure 8.1, NS means not statistically significant. What does P less than 0.05 mean? Alrighty, let's take a look and go over the answer choices. Answer choice A. The difference between the means of the two groups is statistically significant. This answer choice is correct. P is less than 0.05 means it is statistically significant. Let's move on to answer choice B. The difference between the means of the two groups is large enough to be meaningful in everyday life. In other words, practically or clinically significant. This answer choice is incorrect. It is possible to have a statistically significant difference between the two means that is so tiny that it doesn't make any difference in the real world. In other words, the meaningfulness of a treatment effect is determined by its clinical significance. An applied example of this could be a larger change in symptoms, such as a person going from being bedridden 5 days a week to only 1 day a week, which can have a more meaningful impact on a person's daily functioning. Compare this to someone being bedridden 5 days a week to 4 days a week. This may not justify the cost and side effects of the treatment. Let's move on to answer choice C. If the researchers were to repeat the study, all things being equal, we would expect the same results 95% of the time. This answer choice is also correct. Because if a study were repeated under the same conditions, we would expect to see the same effect 95% of the time, making it reliable. Let's look at answer choice D. If the researchers were to repeat the study, all things being equal, we would expect a different result 5% of the time. This answer choice is also correct, because even if a study produced statistically significant results, it does not guarantee this outcome each time. 5% of the time, we think there is an effect, but there is not. That is one reason why research should be replicated. Lastly, let's look at answer choice E. The difference between the means of the two groups was caused by the independent variable. This answer choice is incorrect. The significance of the result means nothing about causality. For example, if the researchers of a study applied the participants to choose whether they wanted saffron or fluoxetine, there may be another third factor that influenced their choice and could explain any differences seen in the results. So if you see P is less than 0.05 reported, you still have to read the paper to see how the groups were chosen. Let's move on to questions 2A and 2B. At baseline, there is statistically significant difference in depression scores. True or false? If you take a look at the graph on the left at baseline, the graphs are marked NS. This means there is no significant difference between the two groups. The same holds true after 6 weeks. No significant difference between the two groups. It is important to note that participants were randomly assigned to one of the two groups. those groups being saffron and fluoxetine. This study also met the important random assignment criterion for conducting a true experiment. Random assignment is a fair and unbiased method used in research to assign participants to different groups. It involves randomly selecting participants and assigning them to groups to increase the reliability of study results. If the groups were different at baseline, then there would reveal that the random assignment process had failed. However, when the random assignment worked as it did here, we can conclude that the experiment had internal validity. Internal validity means the study is designed well enough to identify a causal effect between the independent and dependent variables. Alrighty, now let's go over the answers for item 3. This can be a little tricky to understand at first, so listen closely. I want to reinforce these two ideas. If 3A and B are true, then 3C must be true. If 3D and F are true, then 3D must be true. Alrighty, let's continue with questions 4A and 4B. Can you conclude from these data that there is a cause link between saffron consumption and lower levels of depression? Yes or no? The correct answer is no. Why do you think that is? Let's close out this lesson with a short video on treating depression and whether or not there is a placebo effect. Thank you for completing this lesson with me. Lesson 8 ends our series of lessons. I hope the rest of your semester goes well. Good luck.